It's over. Yeah. Huh. Hey Russia, you motherfucker. Did you really think Ukraine would be a sucker? Another bitch you could suck and then chew. I spit it out like every other bitch you used to. But not this time, low, cause this SMO is just another name for failure. What a shit show. The world is wiser. You paper tiger, your federation's breaking up. We will divide ya. Get out! Get out! Get the fuck out of here! Get out! Get out! Cry me a river, not a tear. Get out! Get out! Take your bullets and your fear. Get out! Get out! No one wants your rusky mirror. Hey Putin, you're done, you're looting. You try to take what isn't yours with your 3-day war. Well, how's it working out for you? Is it going to the plan? Did the lifts inside your shoes make you feel a bigger man? And now your fleet sunk, you little street punk. It's at the bottom of the sea, a rusting pile of coral junk, just like your bomber fleet. It's a strategic joke, trapped inside the spider web, slowly going up in smoke. Get out, get out, get the fuck out of here. Get out, get out. Cry me a river, not a tear. Get out, get out. Take your bullets and your fear. Get out, get out. No one wants your rusky mirror. Hospitals and kindergartens, civilians in their homes, churches, shops, and market stalls. Your missiles, bombs, and drones. Your pregnant women, you don't care. Sleeping children too. You kill for money, nothing else. Your mothers must be so proud of you. So many war crimes for you to do time. The Hague is rolling out the carpet for the red slime. You're such a user, corrupt abuser. Your economy is toast, you fascist loser. You know it won't last. Your time is long past. So take your oil and gas and stick it up your ass. And now the end game will bring the real pain. The final word you ever hear, glory to Ukraine. Get out, get the fuck out of here. Get out, get out. Cry me a river, not a tear. Get out, get out. Take your bullets and your fear. Get out, get out. No one wants your rusty. You're just a liar, the world's pariah. Imperial rebuild was your desire, but now it's too late. You didn't calculate that we are so much stronger than your fear and your hate. My damn was just a start that set us all apart. A passion built on freedom, man, it's coming from the heart. So learn your lesson, we'll take it back then. It's 1989 all over again. Get the fuck out of here. Get out, get out. Cry me a river, not a tear. Get out, get out. Take your bullets and your fear. Get out, get out. No one wants your rusty mirror. It's over, it's over. You're home before it's too late. It's over, it's over. There's nothing left to debate. It's over, it's over. Time to desist and cease. It's over, it's over. You never wanted peace. It's over, it's over. Can't you get it through your head? It's over, it's over. The Soviet Union is dead. It's over, it's over. The age of empires is long gone. It's over, it's over. Ukraine already won. It's over, it's over. Everybody knows. It's over, it's over. Glory to the heroes. It's over, it's over. So get the fuck out of here.
Hello, my dear friends and family. Operator Starsky here. Very welcome to my stream. So good to see you, my friends. United Kingdom, United States, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Czechia, and many other countries. Oh my God. Also, as always, big thanks to Legendary Philip Page, he's there in the chat. I can see you, my friend. Thank you so much for this amazing, amazing song. So, my dear friends, today we are going to talk about movies. Everybody loves movies. Hello to beautiful Cardiff Oblast. Oh my God, my best wishes and thoughts and prayers with you, my friends. Also, Canada, they're in the chat, Germany as well. And today we're going to talk about movies. Why do we watch movies generally? I'm sure that a lot of people can answer that. Netherlands, of course, how could I avoid mentioning Netherlands and Poland and other beautiful places. Why do we watch movies? We watch movies, of course, because we want to escape reality. Of course, we have enough reality every single day of our lives. Everybody knows that. But why we love movies is because movies look like real life. All right. I mean, I'm not sure about you, my friends, but every single military, while watching, for example, military movies, every time they go like, that gun is wrong. All right, it's like doesn't correspond to the place. All right, that howitzer doesn't sound like that. I do it all the time. All the military guys I know do it all the time. So in the movies, of course, we respect realism 100%, even in like fantastic movies, science fiction and stuff like that. We always respect realism, all right? We love those movies to be as realistic as possible. And in case of movies featuring the Russian characters, of course, that's complete bullshit. They are never portrayed the right way, all right? They're always, always wrong. And today we will talk about this. There's a lot of people out there, you can hear it every single time they say, Russia is like unbeatable, undefeatable. How can you even fight against Russia and stuff like that? And big portion of that stuff, of course, some people are completely delusional from the beginning, but big portion of that stuff comes directly from the Russian movies. And when we talk about the Russian movies, of course, we always portray like this shit. That's, by the way, from Prigozhin's movie about the mighty Russian Spetsnaz fighting in Mozambique and stuff like that. So Russians are always portrayed in the movies as, those mysterious, exotic people with like deep souls and stuff, and they are completely unbeatable, indestructible, and stuff like that. In the Russian culture, of course, they always, by default, portrayed themselves like that, tough dudes. That one comes straight from the Russian TV series called Spetsnaz by friends. Some of those dudes already became better, luckily for us. So, fortunately, we will not see more movies from them. All right. And of course, in the Russian movies, they portrayed themselves as completely indestructible, unstoppable Russian soldiers who always know better, who have this, Русская смекалка, how to translate it? I don't even know. The Russian way of thinking that literally multiplies by zero all attempts of evil Westerners to steal asphalt from the roads, to throw the empty bottles around the children's playgrounds in Mukhasransk somewhere. They are always victorious and stuff like that. Of course, that is their main concept. And of course, in some of the previous streams, we talked about this one, all right, Russian mafia, because generally when you think about Russian series, they're always either about Spetsnaz or mafia, banditos, or Russian cops, okay? And all of them are cringy. as fuck, my friends. That one is Brat 2 or Brother 2. We talked about that one. That's literally about the Russian mafioso who goes to the United States because it's just so easy and hunts American mafioso, and besides that, he's fighting against like Ukrainian mafia in the United States. Holy shit! Oh my god, that's so cool to think about this Ukrainian mafia in the United States. It's like when they go to like Mars and fight against Martians, they will find Ukrainian mafia there as well. It's just so amazing. And of course, I cannot avoid mentioning this one. That's a Russian criminal series called Brigada or The Brigade, again, about the 90s in the terrorist federation, 90s, those dudes, like, again, some of them return from the army, and meet their friends, and then they just become like successful Russian criminals. All right. So Brigada, that's another one. But why people were watching this shit is because this shit is more or less realistic. All right. But today we will talk both about some of the realistic movies, okay, and specifically some of the realistic characters, which is more important. And we will also talk about like the usual, the sketch stereotype Russian in the Western movies. Fuck Russian movies. I'm not even gonna mention them anymore. All right. Because that stuff, guys, I have this childhood trauma actually because I grew up being forced to watch this shit, and basically this is how I lost all of my hair. So there are a lot of Russians in the Western movies. Of course, they're all portrayed as those tough motherfuckers. In 90% cases, of course, they're called Ivans, okay? Like Ivan Drago, Ivan Danko, Ivan Korshunov, you name it, all right? So we will talk about that. In specific cases, they're called either Boris or Nikolai. Boris the Blade from The Snatch, of course, that's a really funny character, but what's unreal about that character is, of course, if he was in the UK, he would be in the fucking jail 100%, and the movie would not be as exciting as it was. But besides that, we have several, let's say, iconic Russians, all right? Let me see, just a bit of call. We have several iconic Russians that we all know about, all right? And when we talk about the Russians in the movies, so Peli Rami, you are correct. Let's talk about this one on the first place because that one is literally the most iconic in my personal opinion. Like when you mention Russians in the Western movies, of course, we immediately start reminiscing like this one. All right, Dolph Lundgren, his amazing actually role, all right, but in this movie he is of course more Swedish than Russian, I can tell you that. Okay, so what is wrong with this movie? I cannot say that this character is like completely BS, all right. I cannot say that he's completely fake, again, even though he looks more like Swedish guy, I would say, but he is not really complete, in my personal opinion, because when we talk about the Soviet boxers, of around that period of time. Of course, those Soviet boxers looked just a bit different, and of course, this movie doesn't actually express the way Ivan Drago was training in Russia, because generally, in Russia, like if this camera, all right, from the ring, from the United States, teleported to Russia and showed us Ivan Drago in his natural habitat, he would look approximately like this, all right? So we can see like his very, very natural habitat, the destroyed, neglected, poor gym, where he has to train on fucking cheap equipment. Of course, he's a bit leaner, all right, than the real one, than the one in the movie. You can compare, of course, like that frame and that frame. Why is that? Well, literally because if you're a boxer in the Soviet Union and if you want to gain mass, there's absolutely no way to find any sport supplements, all right, because they didn't exist in the fucking Soviet Union. And you have to eat whatever you have, all right, whatever you can, which is mostly like chicken and stuff like that. So Ivan Drago would look just a bit different, okay. And besides that, he's training in that stupid freaking cold gym. There's no heating, of course, because it's fucking Russia. Tell me if you know where Ivan Drago comes from, by the way. It's important. So he's training there, and his fucking trainer with belly like this, with bulging belly. Um, he's like giving him the advice on, the Soviet style of boxing. Block every punch with your fucking head, my friend. That's literally it. That will make you a great boxer. And to me, another thing doesn't really look realistic, all right? Because boxers in those times, and we're talking about the late Soviet period, in the late Soviet period, like 80s, which then transformed into crazy 90s, all right, after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Of course, boxers and young guys in the sport clubs, they were all involved in the organized crime on the territory of the Soviet space and later post-Soviet space. They were all involved in the organized crime. Same picture you could observe, for example, during the Revolution of Dignity in Ukraine, because it was the same. The bandits that became politicians, they would feed the sport clubs. They would invest a lot of money and stuff like that because they needed enforcers. They needed titushkas, basically, the dudes that we fought during the Revolution of Dignity. And of course, in the Soviet Union, when the criminal leaders wanted to hire or recruit the enforcers, the soldiers, all right, the racketeers and stuff like that, of course, they would go to a gym and talk to the trainers and ask, listen, do you want to earn some money? All right, there's some businesses that we gotta take care of. And of course, they would go and recruit dudes like him to a gang. Therefore, this very guy would also look pretty much like this. So, I shit you not. Immediately you ask, my dear friends, like, where the hell is his tracker suit, all right? Why is he not wearing, like, sports pants, sports suit, and stuff like that? Where the hell is all that? Well, the answer is, my friends, because he is, like, a higher level gopnik. He can afford himself a leather jacket and some better clothes, all right, because he's not only squatting there on the streets. Sometimes he goes on a deployment, all right, like snatching businesses and stuff. So you literally walk out of your apartment and you see that crazy fucking bastard sitting there squatting on the streets, and he's like, "Hey, the fuck, shit, I actually gotta show it because, my friends, that's literally that's like a whole culture, all right? Shit, my face looks actually like too intelligent, all right? So he's sitting there and he goes like, loser, come here, you motherfucker. Do you have cigarettes? Do you have coins? Come on, jump. Ah. Like it actually takes a lot of time to practice that, but I have some experience because I know what they look like in the real life. So he's squatting there, and they have this word called отжимать, to confiscate. He confiscates like shoes, like phones, and stuff like that. All right. Basically, ordinary gopnik right there. That is literally what they looked like. All right. The guys like that dude, they would go to the gym, they would learn boxing. Literally, in order to learn how to fight, how to attack people, how to take their property, because those were the times. All right, those were the times. So that is literally the realistic Russian right there. Of course, the face not distorted with any with any signs of intellect right there, because that's basically what they look like today. All right. Um, there is a bunch of Russian characters that are also portrayed as, like as masterminds, all right, like criminal masterminds. We will talk about one in just a second. One of them, I think you might know, okay, because that one fought, I believe, against Harrison Ford, all right. And if there's a Harrison Ford in the movie, you know that he will definitely kick ass. And this one is from that movie. I'm sure you will recognize him. Ivan Korshunov, of course. I mean, of course, his name is Ivan. Who would have thought? All right. Ivan Korshunov, criminal mastermind. That one comes from the Air Force One. My God, I'm forgetting English today for some reason. Air Force One. Ivan Korshunov, the dude who actually captures the airplane, and then some crazy shit starts happening on board. And then, of course, Harrison Ford literally kicks ass. But, Harrison Ford kicks ass generally, all right? That's his job. He flies a helicopter, an airplane. Sometimes he lands on like taxiway and stuff like that. So we should make a movie with your black sock hat character. Bro, check out my shorts. You're gonna love it. It's already there. Oh my God, I lost it. So Ivan Korshunov. Again, that character is not really real. How to say it? He's not realistic. I don't believe it. All right. Russian criminal mastermind who wants to capture the Air Force One. Like, are you serious? All right, the only person, Russian person, who would most probably be able to do that would, of course, be a Grugasha operative, right? So that would be probably the only plausible scenario, all right, if Ivan Korshunov was an operative in Grugasha. Again, Grugasha, you know yourself, my friends. They are basically the Russian terrorist organization that is disguised as Russian intelligence agency, military intelligence agency. Their job is to collect military intelligence on airports, military bases, logistics, fuel storages, ammo, vehicles, personnel and stuff like that. They also have huge bot farm, and they also have very, very big hacker group that hacks shit. All right. So if he was ordered to do that, that most probably would make it a bit more plausible, right? If he was a Grugesha dude. But there's one problem, all right? The problem with Grugesha operatives is that they are all fucking stupid. And just to prove my words, you probably know these two mugs, all right? You probably recognize those two stupid bastards from Salisbury that went there and attacked a lot of people in the UK using Russian combat chemicals known as Novichok. They were spotted on all sorts of cameras, apparently, because they never thought that this shit exists in the civilized world. And of course, they were exposed immediately, okay, because they are stupid fucks. Because that is the Russian Grugesha style, they are freaking dumb, my friends. And therefore, this dude could only perform that operation with Air Force One if he was a stupid dumb fuck from Grugesha. If he was smarter than that, all right, if he was smarter, I believe that he would look differently, and that movie would never be made, because instead of being an operative, if he had some more intellect, more IQ than a fucking seashell, he would most probably become like a Russian oligarch, like that. And that would actually make him a criminal mastermind in Russia, and that would be actually realistic, in my personal opinion. So this dude would look like that on the screen, all right? And tell me, what do you think about this? That's just from my standpoint, all right, from years of learning Russians and communicating with them, suffering from them, making them better, and things like that. Ivan Korshunov as an oligarch seems much more plausible to me. Most probably, by the way, he would have his very own private military company like Wagner. Maybe he would drink vodka with Prigozhin, or I don't know, go to parties with like Jeffrey Epstein. All right, that is literally Russian style. And that is pretty much realistic in my personal opinion. So, switching from this one, and when challenged about why they were in UK in Salisbury, they claimed they came to see the church. Yeah, that's what else can Russians see in a different country? Of course, they go to church because they love God so much. So, who else? I have just a few, and then, by the way, my friends, then we will talk about the Russian characters that you offer right there in the chat. We will talk about them as well. Ivan Korshunov. The next one is also Ivan, by the way. Who could have thought? My God. In the movie, though, he's called John. But John and Ivan, that's basically the same shit, right? Why do American script writers love calling them Ivan so much? There's so many cool names. Емельян, Afanasy, oh my God, Fyodor, Peter. You have a lot of names to choose from. Okay, so of course we cannot avoid this one because he's on the thumbnail All right, there he is. And even though in the movie he's not necessarily portrayed as like Russian, like native Russian, but according to Steven Seagal's vision, that dude is actually like from that area, okay, from around that area. Why is he called John Alexander? I cannot tell you, my friends, because that's literally like two names. It's like Bobby, Robert. Why is it like that? I have no idea. That's apparently because he's such an intellectual guy. All right, but in that movie, he's portrayed as like assassin, killer, former spats op, whatever, like Spetsnaz and stuff, and Bandito, and you name it, like the most tough and the most kick-ass kind of Russian dude you can actually imagine in the cinematography. And I don't even know if somebody still watches that shit from Steven Seagal, because if you check out the reviews, oh my god, that's just that's probably the cringiest dude in the world, in the history of cinematography. Cringer than him could be, what was his name? The Room, that like hairy guy from The Room. He was cringy, but he's so cringy, so he is Tommy, I think, or Johnny, whatever. He's overly cringy. He's so cringy, so he's beautiful, actually. And for example, I know that a lot of people still keep rewatching the Room just because they lack the feeling of cringe in their lives. All right, I do it myself from time to time when I think like the life is too good. I watch The Room. That one might actually be a rival to that one. Okay, so Steven Seagal portrays himself as this badass motherfucker, whatever. What would he look like in the real life if he was like former Spetsnaz and assassin and stuff? I believe that this would be much more realistic, all right? Because when you think about this, first of all Russians drink. Russian soldiers and Russian veterans, they drink fucking a lot. They drink enormous amounts of alcohol to cope with their traumas, to cope with life and stuff. And that dude looks actually much more realistic. You see that freaking dumb, drunken face. He's sitting there and he talks to his buddies. Let's imagine that's us, all right? God forbid. He goes like, "Hey, motherfucker, Shoigu, Gerasimov, where the fuck are my shells and shit?" So that would be him, really. And this one actually looks pretty much like the one in the real life, all right? Let's be real. like in the real life, not like in the movies. I bet that that's actually the way he spends most of his time there in Russia, because currently he's surrounded by things and people that are dear to Steven Seagal. That's literally vodka, a lot of food, a lot of my God, I'm I'm so sorry. I am so sorry, but I just cannot stop. Um, and that's basically John Alexander. Please again let me know what you think about this one. Um, to me, he looks like a typical Russian like a Russian paratrooper, actually. I smell vodka and armpit looking at. Yeah, I know. Thank you. I did my best. The only thing missing is a carpet on the wall. Actually, he sold it to buy vodka. They do it from time to time. when they lack money. All right. Sometimes they have to sell something very, very important, such as carpets, to buy something even more important like vodka. So, in my personal opinion, John Alexander would look realistically if he looked like this. All right, I'll show it to you one more time to make you, like imagine the smell of armpit and stuff, and that freaking moonshine made out of shit. With that, let's switch to something else. How elite are VDV really? Well, my friend, I think I already answered that question in some of the streams. It's, when they landed in Hostomel, and after a while, you could see, for example, me in Hostomel, but the Russians were not there anymore. Basically, that's how elite they are. Yeah, and of course, because he portrays Russian. In the movie, he actually swears a lot. He uses a lot of Russian rectal language, which is kinda realistic. But again, because he does it with this crazy accent, he actually sounds a bit like our next character. Okay, I think you already understand who I'm talking about. Because frankly speaking, the next one, I actually like him. I like both the actor because he's absolutely fucking legendary, and I also like the character because the character is so cliche slash stereotypical that I just cannot restrain my admiration, all right? Because we are, of course, talking about another Ivan, as you probably guessed, all right? We are talking about the Russian Cup. Ivan Danko from Kiev, by the way. this one is legendary, my friends. This one, I watched this movie 1,000,000 times. I shit you not, because it's just full of memes. Seriously, there was a time when I would just speak with my friends using the memes from this movie, the Red Heat. All right. So Jesus Christ, it's like, I don't know. It's like when you are in the bed with your lady and like it doesn't work, and you blame capitalism for that. That one is just so amazing. So Ivan Danko, he's portrayed by, again, legendary, beloved Arnold Schwarzenegger, and in this movie he plays a Russian cop. In Russia, they call them ment, okay? Ment is the same as cop, basically. Sometimes they call them musar. Musar means trash, but it's like a long story. So primarily they call their cops ment, all right? Ment. So he plays Russian ment, who kind of Soviet ment yet back, because it's like 1989 or 1990, but he's like Russian slash Soviet ment with, by the way, Ukrainian last name, or kind of Ukrainian last name, who is running after the Victor Rostashvili, Jesus, like Soviet Russian slash Georgian mafioso. And he's chasing him all the way to the United States. I don't believe this. First of all, as in meant to be a cop. Yeah, exactly. So meant, that's literally cop in the Russian language. So I don't believe that, because first of all, who would send a Russian or even Soviet meant all the way to the United States? They don't give you money to even travel to fucking Mukhasransk or Ust-Pizduysk. Fucking go yourself. all right, pay your own money. And the way he's portrayed in this movie is also not really realistic, okay? Because again, he's like basically he's like Ivan Drago, like no emotions, this Slavic face. One thing is realistic, okay, because when you look at Arnie in this movie, okay, you can see this like Slavic face, but it can also be like German or Austrian face sometimes. More German, of course, in the good meaning, yeah. So if you can see somebody who looks like that, that can be either Slavic or German or Austrian, and that corresponds to his character, in my personal opinion. So of course he would not travel to the United States. He would not even travel to a fucking neighboring oblast because they don't do that. Where would they find money to send a cop like across the ocean? That's absolutely insane. That's like a fantastic movie. The Predator looks more realistic than this one. So, how to improve the realism? All right. So, in order to improve the realism in this movie, I would offer you, my friends, to learn more about the Russian cops, about Minsk, because if they would show like his home, not house, of course, only secretaries of the Communist Party could afford having a house, all right, or some shithole somewhere in the village with ruined walls, outhouse, and of course carpet hanging on the wall. Yeah, but um, in his tiny, tiny apartment, he would probably look like this, all right? So here on this picture, we can see much more realistic Ivan Danko. He is completely fucked, okay? His whole mind is overwhelmed with the boss who hates him, who tells him to fucking fuel his car and pay his own money from his own pocket, all right? Because the Soviet Union was so rich, so of course they would not refuel the police cars in the terrorist federation. So he has to refuel the car from his own pocket. And in order to do that, in order to obtain the money, of course, he has to take fucking bribes, right? And he extorts money from like local pushers, drug dealers, prostitutes, and shit. And that is the life of a real Russian cop. Okay, he sits there and he thinks like, fuck, I have to file like 5 fucking reports, and then I have to find some fucking money, bring them to my boss and stuff, because Russian police was and still is completely and throughout rotten and corrupted, and it will never change, all right, as long as they are alive. So here we can see this Ivan Danko sitting there and thinking, all right, about his life. Of course, he won't go to the United States. In the best case, he goes somewhere to Podmoskovia, okay, to beat up some pusher and take money from him. Arrest some prostitutes, bring somebody to the police department, and torture this person the whole fucking night. But it's not all, because, of course, since he's a Russian cop, all right, what he does is he's beating up the protesters all the time on the streets. There we can see like more realistic version of Ivan Danko attacking the protesters on the Russian streets, taking them straight to jail and torturing them in the jail for like hours and hours, making them wear like this gas mask and closing the excess of air and doing all sorts of crazy things. All right. Again, I can tell because I know about this. I can tell you a lot about the ways they torture those people there in the Russian jails. All right. So that is like the real Ivan Danko. Again, nothing really in common with the movie version of him, because this one actually has emotions, like real emotions. He says, "You motherfucker, come here," and then he beats the living shit out of the people on the streets, because there is no freedom of speech in the terrorist federation. And this is what his character would actually look like. All right. So that's my vision. Okay. Again, my friends, let me know what you think about this one. Unfortunately, I couldn't make his uniform look more like Russian, but whatever. It'll do. All right. It'll do. I mean, if they portrayed Ivan Danko the way they portrayed it, yeah, in the movie, then it'll do. So, Ivan Danko, my friends, another character that wasn't actually much realistic in this movie, even though Victor Rosta actually was, because he kind of cursed like properly, all right. He cursed properly there in the jail when he was interrogated. Okay, that was a very very nice episode. Um, the next one that I have, this one is actually this one will be the last one, and then we will check out those that you will name in the chat, all right? Because I'm going here and there asking Chat GPT what sort of like iconic Russians in the movies you know personally, and the Chat GPT is like, I have no idea. So I decided to talk about those that I know actually. And this one, cocainum, yeah, the video gets demonetized immediately. Can you put Trump as a Russian spy? My God, I'm sure that like even those would be probably more effective than Trump. All right. Um, so the next one. The next one is actually portrayed as one of the few good Russians in the movies, because this one comes from the Predator franchise. All right, there's a movie I believe Predators, where they actually capture a bunch of like toughest um, and most violent people from Earth. All right, there are mercenaries, there are IDF fighters, they're like Yakuza samurai. And there is one very, very interesting character called Nikolai. That one is actually a real Russian. He's not played by a Western actor. Why is he holding an American minigun? I've literally no freaking idea, and I don't want to know. Okay. But besides that, this is like the character. He's called Nikolai. He arrives to this distant planet together with a bunch of other guys, and there are like like criminals and soldiers, yakuza guys, mercenaries, whatever. The movie itself is not bad, actually. I tell you that. This one, this dude is bad. First of all, his camo is not really Russian, as far as I can tell. To me, looks like woodland, actually, like either woodland or DTP, the British DTP, something like that. In my personal opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's portrayed in this movie as, like this tough Russian soldier with like that freaking minigun, doesn't care. And of course, again, he's like, this exotic Russian dude with deep soul. He's friendly, but he's tough. Like all Russians, he's very friendly, very tough. And why he's often called like one of the few good Russians in the movie is because he sacrifices himself and blows up himself and the predator using a grenade. This episode, my friends, is actually realistic because from the FPV footage, we know that Russians do it all the time. They become better, all right? They self-exterminate, especially in Ukraine, all right? In the field somewhere. First, they when they hear Ukrainian drones approaching, they start, like crisscrossing like crazy and pray because they are so brave and they signed contract to go to a foreign country, kill people, but instead of that, they see that they die like bitches. And that episode is actually quite realistic because the dude blew himself up. All right, Russians don't blow up because they want to save somebody. They blow up because they're cowards. But I don't believe this one. Okay, looking at Nikolai on this photo, I don't believe this. He doesn't look realistic. Okay, because he looks like he's kind of modern soldier. Of course, the movie itself was made before the Russian full-scale invasion, but let's pretend that he's more or less modern Russian soldier. Maybe even participated in like hybrid occupation of Donbass. Who knows? All right. But the fact is, if he was a modern Russian soldier, of course, he would look very, very differently. And I don't believe this image. I don't believe this like character because it's highly unrealistic. And I cannot imagine modern Russian soldier looking differently from this one. Oh, sorry, not this one. We'll talk about those later. Looking like this. Yay! So, first of all, on this picture, we can, of course, see a Russian soldier. The Russian soldier is carrying like crutches, okay? He also carries a donkey, obviously, because that's like the trend in the Russian army nowadays. And behind him over there, you can, of course, see a toilet that was snatched from some abandoned house somewhere in the eastern Ukraine or in occupied Kherson Oblast. That is a necessary attribute. That's a necessary prop. Without it, I don't believe that this character could even exist, right? It looks absolutely unrealistic. That is the way the Russian soldiers look like nowadays. No washing machine because apparently his donkey couldn't carry both, all right, the toilet and the washing machine. But if you imagine, like, for example, if you saw this movie, all right, and you saw like them parachuting from the sky, okay, why is that Russian soldier standing next to Lavrov? Well, I don't know. Apparently, that the predators decided that Lavrov is like some exotic earthly creature, so they decided to parachute him as well. And he got parachuted together with his crutches, donkey, and the toilet. Maybe they also parachuted the washing machine somewhere, but the fucker literally lost it in the jungle. So that is my representation of Russians, and by the way, that is exactly how they will go down in history. And another important fact is that, of course, you can see that he's a bit older, right? He is a bit older than on the picture. On the picture, he's like in his 40s, I would say 30s. Actually, you know, he looks pretty fine as for his like 21. This one is, of course, just a bit older because we know that he can be either mobilized or taken to the front line straight from the prison. So maybe he was doing his time, okay, and he was doing his time, for example, for rape, okay, like something like that. He was like a sex predator, and now he has to fight against the real predators there in the woods. Okay, again, like his wife told him, like, dude, go to war, bring money and stuff instead of just doing your time in the prison. And the dude went to the war. And of course, he got wounded and he returned back to his positions, hoping that he will get home and get demobilized. But of course, his command told him, take the crutches, go and die in the mid assault. Take the donkey with you and bring like those 2 boxes of ammo to the position. And then the dude on his way to the position, he got lost somewhere in the fog. The predators looked at him and decided that they just need to snatch him, okay? Because they have never they have never seen anything like that. Like the reason they snatched him, you know why? It's because in most cases, the predators only face like dangerous enemies, okay? The enemies that can actually pose danger to themselves, to the predators, to those alien species. And that is why, that is exactly the reason why he was snatched. It's because the smell of his like food wraps was absolutely devastating, okay? And people would literally get unalive in the range of like 100 meters around him while he was walking to the to, to the position. So that is why he looks like that. Again, I will show it one more time. That's the actor, and that's the way he should look like in the real life, okay? A lonely Russian former convict, recruited or mobilized on crutches, who literally goes with his donkey and snatch toilet somewhere, all right, looking for his very, very own demise. Besides that, my friends, I have several honorable mentions. Okay, we gotta talk about those as well because some of them are actually realistic. All right, let's be honest. Um, some of the Russians are actually portrayed, I would say, pretty well in the Western movies. For example, take a look at this one. Okay, so that is from The Nobody. I'm sure that you've seen this movie. You've also seen the scene in the bus. Okay, um, so this one I don't believe. He looks too intelligent as for a Russian person. This one again, I don't believe this one. Again, too intelligent. This one played by ethnic Russian actor Alexander Pal. This one, I believe, 100%. The face is just perfect. The character himself is just perfect. The way that nobody deals with them in the bus is, again, very realistic, very perfect. And this character, this actor, by the way, Alexander Pal. He's actually amazing Russian actor. Why? Because first of all, he doesn't support Russia. He supports Ukraine. He doesn't support Putin's invasion of Ukraine. He didn't make any movie since 2021, and that is why he's a proper dude, I think. Okay, yeah, the face, the way he portrayed the Russian bandit there, again, is absolutely natural because he is natural. He is Russian. He basically portrayed Russians the way they are, the way they talk, okay? And when I watched that, first of all, there's no accent when he speaks, when he curses, when he speaks, and he plays a very, very good role. Most probably, again, because, he's actor, so he's more or less intelligent person, so he recalled some of his experience with, for example, people like this, all right, because if you lived and grew up in Russia, 100% you met some of those, and also in some other parts in the post-Soviet space. So that one was absolutely realistic, in my personal opinion. Then another one that comes to my mind, again, that's literally based on the movies I watched myself. So another one that comes to my mind, again, played by ethnic Russian person, that is Alexander Petrovsky from Sex and the City, all right? Why he looks real? First of all, because he is real. He's a real Russian, played by Mikhail Baryshnikov, all right? He's a real Russian. In the movie, he basically does what the Russian people do, but not ordinary Russian people, because in the movie, Alexander Petrovsky is a member of the Russian Bohemia. When the Russians live outside the Soviet Union, USSR, terror, Russia, whatever, there are a couple of reasons for that. They ran away. They decided to escape that filthy shit. They are members of some oligarch families, all right? So they're like wives, kids of the Russian oligarchs, literally sent abroad because there is no life in Russia. There's no future. There's no opportunity in the terrorist federation. That is why oligarchs massively send their kids, their wives away to like Florida, to UK. Yeah, Misha is Russian, but hasn't had a Russian passport in over 50 years. He is now American and Latvian. Yeah. And Mikhail Baryshnikov, again, he's a great actor and he also supports Ukraine. He doesn't support the terrorist federation. He stands and openly stands against the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So again, that's another Russian who advocates for Ukraine, and I think that it's a proper thing. I thought that he's a dancer. I'm not the big fan of like ballet, but I was a big fan of Sex and the City because I learned English by watching this. Okay, so he portrayed like the Bohemia, the Russian Bohemia, the Russian cultural elites, tremendously rich dude who lives in the United States, who travels around the world. His daughter lives in like Paris or whatever. And basically, that is correct because besides Russian immigrants, Russians who were lucky to run away, besides oligarchs and their families, and besides, let's be honest, all right, Russian spies, there's also like Russian Bohemia, Russian elites, Russian business elites, smart Russians, so to say. Okay, in the movie, that's one of them. They speak several languages. They are not as imperialistic and chauvinistic as usual Russians, even less chauvinistic than like Russian immigrants, those who walk around wearing shirts like, I'm Russian, know this, fear me, all right? That shit. Russians that literally demand other people to fear them just because they're Russians, just because they want to be feared in the movies, in the culture, everywhere. And looking at Orban, Fico, Colonel McGregor, and others, you can understand where all this shit comes from. So, again, in the movie, Petrovsky actually punches Carrie Bradshaw, his girlfriend. He fucking slaps her because that is a natural Russian thing. They are very natural at violence, all right, in the Russian families. So that stuff is also portrayed well. So the character is real, and the way he behaves in the movie is also kind of real, all right, both in good and bad ways. So to me personally, he is like portrayed perfectly. And again, the actor himself, he's not a bad guy. All right. What else can I say, my friends? I can say that fortunately, more and more people remove those sunshades from their eyes, the sunshades of fear, all right, and they start seeing Russians for what they really are, all right, like those fucks, like individuals who grew up in poverty, in shitty conditions, having absolutely no sewers, who went to prison, who learned from prison culture, all right, who went to war, snatched conditioning units, bought a donkey because Russian army doesn't have tanks. Basically, again and again, I remind you this, my dear friends, as Russians say themselves, Russia is basically a chaos of shit and death. And it will always be like that until Russia is basically dismantled. So that's my vision of the Russian characters. Let me know what you think about this one. Someone just literally keeps messaging me all the time. Ah, that's Mirko. Mirko is going to bed. Let me know what you think about this one. The AI got the Ruski army perfectly. My friend, uh, this one, I struggled so much because when I asked the AI to portray Russian soldier with toilet and donkey and walking on crutches, the AI actually said, like, dude, are you fucking nuts? I cannot, I can portray a lot of things, but let's be more realistic, all right? And I'm like, dude, what can be more realistic than this? Because we've seen this shit so many times on the FPV footage from the Ukrainian war, so we can make no mistakes. When you see shit like that, that is Russian. 100%. And basically, that's the way they will be remembered. Beautiful and rich Russian culture. You know, uh, Pushkin, Dostoevsky, Balalaika, Matryoshka, stolen toilet, donkey, and an elderly dude, former convict on crutches, walking towards his fucking death. That is Russia in its essence, my friends. That is the way they look like. That is basically the portrait of a Russian hero, the dude who raped somebody and then got improved, all right, somewhere in the tree line in Donbass, and then his freaking face is on a plaque somewhere in the school, and the Russian teacher tells the kids, this man, he's your hero. He fought for you. Of course, he raped somebody in the beginning, but yeah, we all do that, right? Like he fought for you. his life for you. So you would have like an Italian toilet snatched from Bucha somewhere, or Izum. That is literally Russian world right there. Now, my friends, let me know what kind of Russian characters you know. All right, let me know in the chat because I would definitely like to review them as well. And actually, since we have like 50 minutes left, we can talk about them right here on this stream. All right, I will just take a sip. There's several more. There's like Red Sparrow, but I don't know. Didn't watch this movie much, so. But again, I can imagine the way they lived there. Solovyov doesn't need to even explain. All right, he doesn't need explanation. Uh, Does Victor Tsoi count as actor? Hard to tell. Actually, Victor Tsoi was an actor. He was a big fan of Bruce Lee, and he was also hated by the Soviet regime big time because he was like a rebel. He was a rock musician. Of course, in the Soviet Union, if you play rock music, it makes you basically a satanist. In the Soviet Union, it wasn't good to listen to rock music because that would make you basically like enemy of the people or something like that. Russians in the James Bond movies. Russians in the James Bond movies. Well, again, they're very stereotypical. They are like very cliche, like those Slavic mugs, like zero emotions. It's not real, they have emotions, but they are not good emotions usually, all right? They look dumb in most cases because they're either drunk or literally dumb. So, what else? Steven Seagal could play Prigozhin. I think eventually he might actually do that. That'd be kind of fun. Harrison Ford and Sean Connery both played late USSR era submarine captains in popular movies. Speaking of the captain of the submarine, played by Sean Connery, I believe that most probably he would look like. He would look like this, I think. Like this, actually. Russian captain sitting and drinking, that's very, very stereotypical picture. Guys, if you ever grew up in the family of a Soviet officer, you would see this shit every evening. I kind of know what I'm talking about, all right? You would see this shit every evening. That very shit. Like the dude wearing that telnyashka, the striped shirt, drinking, smoking, and talking to his guys, cursing and shit, and maybe even have a fight or something. That's the realistic picture of that very captain. I mean, this one fits the image, all right? Not the image of Sean Connery himself, because, okay, let's be honest, the role itself was saved by the beautiful performance of legendary Sean Connery, all right? But in the real life, he would actually look like this one. That is like Russian officer right there. That is the most stereotypical and the most real Russian officer you can imagine in his natural habitat, actually. Um, from my personal experience, all right. Russians need to be taught how to act realistically like Captain Scarlet and the Thunderbirds. Yeah, Russian movies tend to present Russia as high tech. The Hunt for Red October and Firefox with Clint Eastwood. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The Abyss also suggests Russians are advanced, very, very advanced, very much. Let's not mention like Robot Boris, Robot Fyodor. We talked about that already. But Kasparov is actually not Russian, like many of the Soviet chess legends, including the wizard, aka Misha. Kasparov, he is one of the few people that associate themselves with Russia who actually have my complete respect. He's a chess player, which again makes him very intelligent person, and as an intelligent person he understands what the Russian fascism really is, okay, and he talks about it. And by the way, Harry Kasparov supports the Russian Freedom Corps, the Russian freedom fighters who fight against the Russian invaders in Ukraine. So he definitely has my respect. One of the very, very few. All right. And Navalny, neither nor his family members are not part of those. Red October was based on a incident where a sailor tried to defect supposedly. Yeah. Boris is the best stunt robot existing. Very realistic, even realistic injuries. 100%. Especially that idol. Remember Robot Idol? Like, hello, my friends, and goodbye. Yeah. That one was legendary. Oh my god. Wish I had a video here somewhere. Um, Robot Alcoholic. What else could Russians build besides Robot Alcoholic? Russian movie star Putin riding a bear with oiled half-naked body. Yeah, by the way, Putin riding a bear is actually a Mandela effect, all right? Because when you think about Putin, all right, you can inevitably imagine him like topless riding a bear. However, it never happened, but like human imagination, human collective imagination works in strange ways. Peter Stormare often plays a Russian. Peter Stormare. Let me see. Ah, this one. Yeah, I think so. I think so. I don't know why, seriously. Like, I couldn't say that he looks very Russian because, like, this is absolutely not a Russian face, all right? Um, Even if he didn't smile, still, like, Russians don't look like that. Russians look like that when they're 25. That is why he doesn't look like Russian much. In my opinion, I might be wrong. It was actually a political officer who commandeered Krivak to start new revolution in USSR. Yeah, Russian politrooks, political officers, they had those. Bridge of Spies depicts the Cold War, and the Russians never changed from that time. Bridge of Spies. Bridge of Spies. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Depends on the type of bear. Bear is a term for a large, hairy. Really, I didn't know that. But actually makes sense. Actually makes sense. Viggo Mortensen in Eastern Promises. Let's check it out. I don't know. Viggo is so good. Seriously. Like, let's check out his tattoos, all right? So, looking at Viggo here, I can immediately tell you that most probably they tried to portray some sort of like Russian convict, all right? Looking at the tattoos. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I didn't see the movie. Uh, Kicks a hobbit. Guys, I didn't see the movie. Tell me, please, in the chat, did they try to portray him as like Russian convict, Russian criminal king from a prison or something like that? Because if that was the case, I have something to tell you about it. I will wait. Nipples are wrong. Yeah, they should be hairy. Like the dude with such a body would be considered like shaving nipples. That's kind of gay. So Russians would not respect that. So he plays a chauffeur to a Russian mobster in London. All right, all right. Thank you for this one. So I can immediately tell you that he doesn't look like a real Russian convict, and I will explain you why. He's an organized crime guy in that one. Yeah. So first of all, most probably the guys didn't find a good consultant, all right, on Russian criminal culture because his tattoos are freaking wrong. First of all, he has to have 2 stars on his shoulders. He has to have church with the domes tattooed on him. Cross, yes, maybe, of course, yes, I understand it. It can be part of like his body art, but he has to have stars, all right. He has to have like domes, and in order to prove that, my God. This is a real Russian criminal, all right? So they have stars, they have portraits of maybe like their like children, wives, whatever. They definitely always have like those, all right? Um, Rings, and most of all, here you can also see like those like stars and stuff like that. And very, very important, the church. Why the church? If you don't see this tattoo here, it means that the church is portrayed on his back somewhere. Why the church? The church shows how much time you spent in the Russian prison. Each dome represents each conviction. So when you have like one, it means that you're here for the first time. Then second time you make another dome, and here and here. And this is how when you look at a Russian convict, you can immediately recognize, like here, for example, like this dude, you can immediately recognize how much time the fucker has actually spent in the prison, all right? There's like those domes, over there. So he was convicted 3 times, and of course, like all that magic, the holy images, because they think that Christianity works like magic. Uh, where is like the most typical ones? My God, that's not that's not what you see in the Russian prisons. Okay, but in the Russian prisons, yeah, they have like stars on their knees, on their shoulders, and stuff, and those like rings, tattooed crosses, of course. Here, very, very typical. Again, as a cop, I saw them a lot. Many, many times. The tattoo says, and again, that's very, very cliche Russian tattoo says, I'm sorry, Lord, for the tears of my mother. And he has fucking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 domes. So he was convicted like 7 freaking times. Basically, I don't know, most probably like spent his whole life in the Russian captivity. There are a lot of different tattoos. Okay, in the Russian criminal culture, there's a lot of them, and they mean different things. Okay, so if it's like a bitch, uh, he has like his own tattoos, all right? So that's a different topic. So when we look, for example, at Viggo Mortensen here, you can understand that, well, maybe he has like golden domes somewhere on his back, I don't know, but it doesn't really look like a realistic one to me. No photos of his back, unfortunately. Yeah. But it's interesting. Guys, what else? Let me know. I believe in USSR times, the code was like each tower represented a certain amount of prison time. Um, each tower represents hodka. Hodka is conviction, literally. So it means basically how many times he did his time, how many convictions he had. And again, I saw them million times during my service, especially in places like Donbass. In Donbass, because Donbass was basically cradle of mafia in Ukraine. Yanukovych came from Donbass, from Yanakieva. Renat Ahmed, oh my God, so many people, so many known and notorious bandits actually came from Donbass. So I saw them there a lot. Russian men generally are small due to generations of alcoholism. Uh, Generally, they like I cannot say that they are kind of different, all right. But of course, like if you drink all the time, don't eat properly, yeah, you don't look well. I think there were crosses on the domes when it was a life sentence. Oh shit, that one I don't remember. Life sentence, I believe that there was some kind of different tattoo. For example, the cat means like a very, very old timer in the prison. That was basically uh, like the dude who was there like all the time. All right, because caught means код is a combination of letters коренной обитатель тюрьмы, the native citizen of jail. And that is why those guys would have tattoos with cats. Can you make a stream about Russian criminal culture? Well, basically, my every stream is dedicated to the Russian criminal culture because their criminal culture is part of their culture. Like, they hardly have different culture than criminal one. But if you like, I can do something like that. In the prison, they would do those tattoos using different sorts of like ink from a pen, nail or needle or stuff. And of course, because it was done in the jail where hygiene doesn't even sound as a word, they would always have hepatitis, all sorts of shit. And of course, tuberculosis, very, very widespread in Russian prisons. Tuberculosis and hepatitis. And of course, because that needle was used over and over again, a lot of them also had AIDS. Okay. And generally, they didn't care much because in Russian prison, if you have some kind of disease, that gives you different benefits. So you can go to like hospital for a while or stuff. So they were literally very atrocious and also carrying all sorts of sicknesses. All right. And all Russian teenagers wanted to look like them because that's in Russian in Russian slang, прийти к успеху, to achieve success, means exactly that, to go to jail. Russia is a chaos of shed and death, my friends. If something is not shed, it's death. I saw that in college, his name tag said Vlad. Yeah. My God. Diseases in Russian prisons like Pokemon, gonna catch 'em. Yeah, that's true. It's very, very widespread. Oh my God. When you capture somebody, for example, either a Russian invader recruited from prison or literally some sort of like suspect, like Russian terrorist or suspected of being a Russian terrorist or connected or related. And then you can see, like when you search the dude, you can see all of that tattoos. And then you realize, fuck, I hope I have like additional gloves because like searching them, all sorts of shit may be on them. All right. That's crazy. How's Emilian? He's fine. He became good in 2022. Didn't change much since that time. It's so strange that they want to remember and show off how many times they were convicted. Are they proud of that? Of course. I mean, that's the only reason they do that, because they are proud of going to jail. Like, they do again. I just read you the tattoo saying like, "I'm sorry, God, for the tears of my mother, but I just can't stop. I just do it all the time. I just keep doing crimes, going to jail, making new tattoos, making my mom very, very proud." That's literally Russian lifestyle. And again, in their culture, Russians are so proud of that. Their teenagers dream about that. The dudes that literally look like this, all right, on the Russian streets, those dudes they wear that stuff because the Russian convicts wear that stuff because they want to be like them. That's literally the answer to your question, my friend. That's because they want to be like convicts. I don't know. Like, if you advertise in the movies, in the stories, that military service is cool, the generations of kids will grow up thinking that military service is cool. If majority, vast majority of your culture is dedicated to prison convictions and stuff like that, generations of kids will grow up thinking that prison is cool, all right? And that culture is very, very widespread in Russia since like 80s, since middle 80s, approximately. That's exactly when they started this movement of the organized crime in the Soviet space. Yeah, exactly. In a nation where law has been arbitrary for so long, going to prison loses shame. Absolutely. Like, um, I know that in the civilized world, all right, okay, in Germany, for example, you will be kind of ashamed of the fact that that you did your time because you have problems finding job, all right, or finding apartment. If you're finding, if you're looking for an apartment, you have to say that you've been to jail and stuff. You have to give all the information, okay, to the people, and the people will decide whether to give the apartment to you or not, or the job or whatever. If you want to adopt kids, you should also inform the authorities, all right, the responsible people, that you did your time, that you were convicted. And that is why, for example, in this part of the world where I am right now, in the civilized society, you're kind of ashamed of that. In Russia, that is literally, they say you don't know life if you haven't been to prison. You should fucking go, you should fucking check and become a man, all right? That is. Jail in Germany is like a hotel compared to other countries. I completely agree on that. But on the other hand, um, it's also shameful. Have you ever watched one of the Elvira Berry's? Yeah, yeah. So that one is actually very, very good. The channel I can actually recommend. She's very good at explaining what the Russians really are, from what I remember. Why they hate you even though they don't know you, but the fact that you live in a rich, wealthy, luxury country while they suffer their whole freaking life uh, without like sewer in their freaking village. Yes, it's very good to explain why it happens, how they are raised in hate to people like you for absolutely no reason other than they are Russians. They are Russians, therefore they have to hate you. And there is absolutely no way you can have dialogue with them because like they will never care. They just do it their way. Because in the Russian society, as I already explained, they have this cult of violence. The elites, the tops, commit violence against the people below them, and they retransmit this violence further. So if they commit violence against you, you have to commit it against other people. Otherwise, you are considered like tirpila, which means coping man, all right? They will not respect you if you don't commit violence, all right? if you receive violence and don't do anything in response, they will keep doing it over and over again. They will never respect you, and generally they will hardly respect you unless you commit violence against them. So that's just their mentality, probably. That's the way they were raised. If this prison culture is cool, have many other politicians been in prison as well? Ooh, the politicians, quite a few. Like the dude who owned Chelsea, Abramovich, I think. He's been to jail. Yanukovych was a convict back in the days again, but he was a Ukrainian dictator, but he was in the Soviet prison, so basically it's the same stuff. And he's been to prison 3 times before he became a president in Ukraine. How exactly was it possible? I have no idea. I'm sure that in Germany, that is hard to imagine, right? But Ukraine is a land of opportunity. So Yanukovych was convicted 3 times for things like battery, robbery, assault, and allegedly rape as well. You can find this mindset anywhere. It's just horrible when it overtakes culture and politics. People think greed is good. Yeah. The only way to get ahead is to cheat and lie and be brutal. Absolutely. And that is literally the Russian mindset. Like, they say that every country has mafia. Russia is a place where mafia has a country. All right. The Russian criminal culture is very, very old. It originated, I believe, in like 19th century, if not earlier. Good night, Carlito. Good night, my brother. It was so good to see you. Have a great rest. It's pretty late, actually, in Germany. It's pretty much also Trump mindset. I agree on that 100%, because when you look at, for example, the recent vote in the United Nations, where countries were voting to condemn the Russian aggression of Ukraine, like recently, like literally several days ago, the countries that voted to adopt the resolution condemning the Russian aggression, there is no United States. United States abstained. All right, unfortunately, because that is like for the first time since January 2025. United States vote together with countries like Russia, with countries like North Korea, Cuba, Iran. And that is actually something that shows the mentality of Trump Putin's mentality. His true self, because he doesn't respect the law, he doesn't respect freedom, he doesn't respect sovereignty. Also, Trump's delegation in the UN, they also wanted to remove the mentioning of Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity in that resolution of the United Nations. Trump told them to demand removal of mentioning of that. Why? So some let's say, not very smart people, they may explain that that is literally because Trump wants to negotiate with Russia, and if he demands Ukraine to be sovereign and Ukraine's territorial integrity to be preserved, then it might, ruin the negotiations. So why do they even consider Ukraine not to be a sovereign country then? How do you think? What's wrong with Ukraine being sovereign? I don't know. Trump knows what it means. Uh, yeah, I agree. Pass our big greetings to your pa, please. And also at uh, Berlin Cafe, all right, at Cafe Berlin, I saw Aaron, and Aaron told me that his father watches my channel big time. So, Mr. Aaron Sr., big greetings from me. I think you know who I'm talking about. My big personal greetings and respect to the UK. Fundamentally, he sees Putin as a peer whose approval and respect he desires. He does not see your president in that way. Unfortunately, he only respects autocrats and tyrants. Absolutely, absolutely. And he also disrespects Europeans a lot, actually. Literally, because European decision makers do a lot to preserve democracy and European democratic values, which is something he doesn't accept. My dear friends, if you know some kind of iconic Russian character, please let me know there in the chat, all right? Somebody besides those that we discussed today. Harrison Ford, Liam Neeson in K-19. Well, yeah, we talked about that one. This would be like good representation of a Russian officer, as I said. They kind of look like that. Off camera, they kind of look like that. Any country that wants everyone to enjoy life are seen as weak by the US president. I can agree on that. Dolph Lundgren in Rocky, yeah, we talked about him in the very, very beginning. Ivan Drago, amazing character, amazing actor, but character wasn't really complete, all right, because we know the background of Rocky, the way he became a boxer, the way he became a star and stuff. Ivan Drago is not explained, all right. So this one is kind of missing. So I added the missing part just a bit. Boris the Blade from Snatch. Yeah, as I already mentioned in the beginning of the stream, Boris the Blade would literally be in jail, all right, if he was in the UK. I don't really see him even like taking part of in those events and adventures. He would just do his time in jail. That would be very, very boring. Dugin reminds me of Rasputin, same crazy eyes. Yeah, Dugin is actually cunning. He's a cunning mofo, and Dugin, we talked about him again, I believe, like last year or the year before. We talked about Dugin. We talked that he was actually a member of a beautiful organization during Soviet times. Beautiful organization called the Black Order of SS, all right, in Russia. And his father had some sort of connections with Russian KGB slash GRU. And Dugin enjoyed going to the archives and reading about the Nazi German SS. And that is something that he basically built all his idea of Russian world on, all right? So who else do we know, my friends? Victor the Gangster from John Wick. Yes, yes. Let's check this one. John Wick. Oh my god. Just a second. John. Yeah, so he was a Russian gangster and one of the friends of Iosif Tarasov, of the Tarasov mob. Oh my god. This one. Well, let's see. So, oh my god, stop scrolling. Sign, blah, 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 blah. He was the first named character to be killed by John Wick in the films. Thank God. Like this one, I understand John Wick. All right. Um, does he look like Russian gangster? I don't really think so. Well, nah, not really. Not really. Let's see more of him. Like, what kind of Russian is that? Ah, so first of all, his hair must be different. All right, so um, nah, nah, no, he doesn't look like Russian at all. Okay. First of all, he is wearing like this, let's say it looks like aviator's jacket. Okay, in Russia, only one sort of people is wearing such jackets. That's white power Nazi skinheads. And he's not one of them, all right? Most definitely. Then, violet shirt. Are you kidding me? What sort of Russian would wear violet shirt? That literally tells that he likes men, okay? In Russia, that is literally death wish. He would not be part of gang if he was gay, okay? And if he wasn't gay, then he would not wear violet shirt. What sort of advisors they had. I don't. Yeah, so therefore he doesn't look much like Russian to me. His face, again, too intelligent for a Russian bandit. So, no, definitely not. Uh, sorry, I wanted to check this one. In Finland, also skinheads wear that polo jacket, so that is like part of culture, all right, but a part of subculture, the skinhead subculture, and actually dates back uh, to British traditional skinheads from like what what years were there, like 30s, 40s, 50s, something like that. Being in a gang is kind of gay. Um, kind of, kind of. No sex in the Soviet Union. Yeah, yeah. You probably heard about this one because in the Soviet Union there was no sex. People would multiply, I don't know, in laboratories somewhere. Like the English skinheads. Yeah, yeah. Basically, the United Kingdom is where this subculture and skinhead fashion originated. All right. In the beginning, they were not white power. They were not Nazi. They were like local guys, working class. They liked to work and drink. Why they would wear the aviator jackets is because in the fight they would often grab some, each other by the collar, all right, and that jacket has none. So it would be harder to grab each other, and sometimes they would also, for example, attach the fishing hooks behind their collars if they had those. So that would be nasty, but they preferred something like that. And then with the Nazi skinheads, when those emerged, so they started wearing those like military style aviator jackets and also the military boots. Why traditional skinheads were wearing those? Literally because when you work somewhere in the docks, something falls on your leg. If you're wearing like sneakers, like you lose your toes, and when you're wearing the shoes with metal cap, all right, to protect your toes. That's of course much easier, much better, and that is why we have such brands as Dr. Martens, Steel, you know, grinders, like those big heavy boots. Steel caps boots, yes, yes, I'm talking about those. UK skinheads were about late 70s, 80s. I think a bit earlier, maybe. I think like 50s, 60s, but I can be wrong. Actually, like I'm telling this to someone coming from the UK. Of course, you know better. Yeah, like I might be wrong. Hyper masculine dudes are the ones that grab my butt when they're drunk. My Jesus Christ. Basically, like in the army. Yeah. Music skinheads, yeah, like ska, hardcore, those music styles actually originated from that movement way before they became actually Nazi. In America, Jack Boot is pretty much a synonym for fascist or authoritarian. Yes, yes, absolutely. And generally, military don't wear that shit anymore. Like, military wear something lighter, like, I don't know, like Lova sneakers, tracking boots. All right, those are great. I remember the skinheads in the 60s. Okay, so it's like about that time. Skinheads were part of the punk music scene in the late 70s, early 80s, split into neo-Nazis and Antifa. Yeah, by the way, because you can often see like the dudes wearing absolutely the same stuff, only these are Nazi, those are Antifa, and they beat each other all the time. Um, it's like that, I believe, in every country of the world, even in Japan. In my opinion, the Russian mob kind of destroyed the culture here in America. Um, I see a lot of attempts to destroy the culture in America using, that Russian fuckery, gopniks dancing with beer and stuff like that. Because according to the Maslow's pyramids, it's of course much easier to be a degenerate, and that is something that Russians use all the time. Okay, because they can hardly offer something better than just being a degenerate. That is why they can they can attempt to destroy culture. They did it. They attempted to do that in Ukraine. They failed, luckily to all of us, but we were close actually. So, my dear friends, with that, we are crossing 2 hours of this stream. I think it's a good opportunity to call it a night, all right? And they are soulless, cultureless bastards. I can just put my signature under this commentary, my friend. I agree with you 100%. Thank you so much for watching. It was fun, actually. Like making those images was really fun. Uh, Finding characters was also fun, especially like the cool ones. All right. I think next thing I will do is I will watch the Red Heat one more time because this movie is just legendary. Okay, with that, I would like to say big thanks to everyone. Big thanks to all the moderators, members, and supporters of my channel. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow, Friday night. I will have a very, very special guest on my channel. You will see yourself. Also, don't forget to have something good before going to bed or before even starting your day, because that is very, very important. We should never keep our stomachs empty. It's bad for health and bad for our mood, for our combat worthiness, and generally it's bad for our morale. So treat yourself with something amazing. And I will see you next time, my friends. Be safe and bye bye.
Hey Russia, It's over. Yeah. Hey Russia, you motherfucker. Did you really think Ukraine would be a sucker? Another bitch you could suck and then chew. I spit it out like every other bitch you used to. But not this time, low, cause this SMO is just another name for failure. What a shit show. The world is wiser. You paper tiger, your federation's breaking up. We will divide ya. Get out! Get out! Get the fuck out of here! Get out! Get out! Cry me a river, not a tear. Get out! Get out! Take your bullets and your fear. Get out! Get out! No one wants your rusky mirror. Hey Putin, you're done, you're looting. You try to take what isn't yours with your 3-day war. Well, how's it working out for you? Is it going to the plan? Did the lifts inside your shoes make you feel a bigger man? And now your fleet sunk, you little street punk. It's at the bottom of the sea, a rusting pile of coral junk, just like your bomber fleet. It's a strategic joke, trapped inside the spider web, slowly going up in smoke. Get out, get out, get the fuck out of here. Get out, get out. Cry me a river, not a tear. Get out, get out. Take your bullets and your fear. Get out, get out. No one wants your rusky mirror. Hospitals and kindergartens, civilians in their homes, churches, shops, and market stalls. Your missiles, bombs, and drones. And pregnant women you don't care, sleeping children too. You kill for money, nothing else. Your mothers must be so proud of you. So many war crimes for you to do time. The Hague is rolling out the carpet for the red slime. You're such a user, corrupt abuser. Your economy is toast, you fascist loser. You know it won't last, your time is long past. So take your oil and gas and stick it up your ass. And now the end game will bring the real pain. The final word you ever hear, glory to Ukraine. Get out, get the fuck out of here. Get out, get out. Cry me a river, not a tear. Get out, get out. Take your bullets and your fear. Get out, get out. No one wants your rusty. You're just a liar, the world's pariah. Imperial rebuild was your desire, but now it's too late. You didn't calculate that we are so much stronger than your fear and your hate. My damn was just a start that set us all apart. A passion built on freedom, man, it's coming from the heart. So learn your lesson, we'll take it back then. It's 1989 all over again. Get the fuck out of here. Get out, get out. Cry me a river, not a tear.